Unfortunately, I've done it again. I've adopted another terrible, cheap project car. So, just what is this mystery project car? Well, unfortunately, it's a cheap car challenge gone wrong. You see, a good friend of mine, Tim, and I went 50-50 on this vehicle with the hopes of making it into a super cheap car to win a $2,000 time attack track day challenge. But unfortunately, no one else stepped up and bought a car, and so we ended up buying this one, and we got stuck with it. We got stuck high and dry. And now, after sitting for almost a year now it's time to clean this thing up and make it into a respectable automobile. So, without any further ado, here is my new project car. Well, what do you think? It's a 2007, I think, Mazda 3 sedan. And I think we paid, what was it, $1,000 for this thing total? And it runs and everything. So I've just checked the title, and this is actually a 2008 Mazda 3, not a 2007, but same thing. Let me show you around this car. So, it's not exactly what you call in the best of condition. It was in a minor front end impact. So the bumper doesn't quite fit right, and this hood has a bit of a dent in it. Also, the headlights are super duper faded, and the paintwork leaves a lot to be desired. Unfortunately, the California sun has kind of ravaged the hood and the roof and the trunk. But the rest of the paint's in pretty good shape, except for all the scrapes and scratches, of which there are many. So the exterior is not great, but the interior is also terrible. Well, kind of. This is the interior of the Mazda 3. Now, the previous owner has actually gone to the effort of swapping in a Mazda Speed 3 power driver's seat, which is actually pretty cool. This is the OEM seat you find in a comparable Mazda Speed 3 of this generation. It's super comfortable. They're actually able to keep the power function and the heat functions. This car actually does have heated seats, which is pretty cool. They see this is based on a Mazda 3 Grand Touring, which was a top spec for this generation of Mazda 3. But interestingly, it's a Grand Touring model, which has all the luxury stuff. So it has Bose audio, a 6-disc CD player, the nice gloss black trim, but it has normally leather seats, which are power and heated like I mentioned before. But this model is a 5-speed, and very interestingly, it has no sunroof. It's a slick top, which means this is a really actually very uncommon combination of options and trim levels for this car. So the interior's had some care put into it, but it's been kind of neglected after that. Very dirty, a lot of stains, a lot of fade. In general, the sun kind of abused this car quite a lot. And after just sitting for almost a year, it's frankly just disgustingly filthy. But on the upside, oh wait, wrong one. Despite having 170,000 miles on the odometer, let's see if I can open the hood here. Under the hood is a 2.3-liter inline 4-cylinder engine paired, like I said, to the 5-speed manual transmission. It's good for 156 horsepower, like 151 pound-feet of torque. And again, despite having 170,000 miles, this thing purrs like a kitten and pulls really hard, so that's pretty nice. But walking around the car on the outside can only show you so much, so let's go for a little bit of a drive with this Mazda 3. And this is where things get a bit interesting, because while the exterior of the car is not great, driving it is actually worse. You're gonna see why in a second. Now fortunately, this car does have ice-cold AC, but even the ice-cold AC can't make up for a lot of the other things happening behind the scenes here. Now, while I mentioned this engine is as smooth as silk, it's absolutely true. Unfortunately, I suspect, can you hear that? I suspect all the engine mounts had to be broken on this thing. So whenever you clutch in, lift out the gas, you hear this awful grinding and thunk sound. And when you go off the line like that. Ooh, that doesn't sound good. Now, this is also a shame because the 5-speed manual transmission actually does shift perfectly. There's no grinds or anything. It's really smooth and really fluid. The guy we bought it off of, a friend of ours who just needed to get rid of his car because of all the issues, he let us know that he's taken it to all sorts of mechanics, and they've basically all said there's something internal to this transmission. There's an internal transmission problem or something that just cannot be fixed. And that is perhaps what's causing all this noise. Now that's TBD, that's to be determined, but in the interim, driving this thing at low speed is a bit sketch. The front suspension clunks like no other over bumps, it's pretty bad. And the grinding sound coming from the front end whenever you accelerate or lift off the gas is also pretty bad. But on the up and up, when you were just cruising on the freeway, like if you just shift into fifth, and just kick it on the freeway. This thing does 30 miles to the gallon at like 75 miles an hour. It's really quiet when you're just cruising. Again, everything in this car works. Windows, stereo, AC, heated seats, you know, all that stuff works. It's just the low speed and around town driving dynamics with all that grinding and clunking is just not good at all. So definitely gonna have to get this thing in the garage and do some mechanical work. Definitely have to try and clean this thing up inside and out, because between the previous owner just not really caring about this car anymore and wanting to get rid of it, and us buying it and then subsequently not using it for almost a year, this car is just, I mean, it's disgusting. I should be wearing a hazmat suit in here, to be completely honest with you. And then obviously the exterior is really rough, so we're gonna try and fix the bumper, the paint, as much as we possibly can to try and really clean this thing up and try and make it at least a presentable street car. All right, I'm gonna rip it really quick. See, look at that, it's quick. This thing is, see, the engine pulls good, the trans is great. Wow, this thing is peppy. But yeah, we should have fixed everything going wrong with the front end. Yikes, because that sounds awful. I'm sure you can hear that through the camera. When you mash the gas or on throttle all, or when you pour the clutch out like that, that's not good. So let's head back to the garage and make a game plan here. All right, let's break down what this car needs on a very basic level. So we gotta clean up the exterior. It's a disaster. Then we gotta clean up the interior. It's also a disaster. Then we need to figure out what's up with these wheels. I'll touch on that more in a future episode, but they are gross. Then we need to figure out the engine, because while the engine itself is perfectly smooth, it rumbles and shakes like crazy, and so we need to sort that out. I'm just gonna put engine, question mark. After that, we have to do transmission. And that's also going to be a question mark, because while the 5-speed shifts perfectly smooth, it makes that awful, awful grinding sound, and something has to be wrong there. Last but not least is going to be suspension. The suspension on this car clunks and thunks, and it really shouldn't do that, especially around town. It cruises nice on the freeway, but that is just not good enough for what we planned for this thing. What we planned for it, I'll tell you in a future episode. But for now, here's a short-term plan for this car. Did I miss anything? Let me know in the comments down below. I have to say, driving this car makes me feel so nostalgic. You see, it was a Mazda 3 that got me started with modifying and tinkering with cars. I used to own a 2008 Mazda 3 over a decade ago. Granted, it was a hatchback, which is obviously the far superior shape to this sedan, but still, the feeling this car imparts upon me is very similar. So it's a very sentimental project to me. And obviously, just seeing such a new car, relatively speaking, in such poor condition, it just needs to be rectified. You know, a 2008 car is a relatively new car, but this thing is hammered, it's beat. The exterior is beat, the interior is beat, the engine, transmission, suspension, it's all really rough, and it just bothers me, you know? It gets under my skin. So, you've seen the game plan, you've seen the car. What do you guys think? Is this thing a total basket case? Am I wasting my time? Or do you think it has potential? Let me know in the comments down below, and stay tuned for more episodes because I'm going to be trying to knock this thing out in the next couple of weeks. So, that's all I've got for this one. This is the Mazda 3. I'm Jake Stone. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.